Hello, everybody, and welcome to Newfound Liberty. Uh, Today, I am joined once again by Miss Esther, the goddess of consent here. And I'm also joined by Christiana, Chamon. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well.
It's actually taxation is theft and not a real libertarian. Just kidding.
Oh, is that what it is? We got to go by the prickle names, right? What I call that.
Hey, but is this?
Jessica's prickle is going to be like a new caucus, I swear, for the LP.
Yeah, but is this podcast limited only to our prickle?
I'd say no.
There you go.
No.
Yeah. So we've been recovering mostly. I mean, we're no longer snowed in, although we're gonna wait until later the week to go to HEB once everything has been calmed down. But other than that, we're relaxing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say take the time while you can. If you need to stay home and just stay warm, why not? I mean, not everybody's got power though.
Yeah.
That's always terrible. Anyway,
yeah. Although it's
Christiana, why don't you go ahead and let us know like what brought you to libertarianism? How long have you been a libertarian?
Sure. I mean, I've been pretty much a libertarian since 2014. That is when first I liked Ron Paul's ideas, but, I didn't get to hear much of them. I came from the very far left, growing up being told what to think by leftists, being told to hate Republicans and anyone who isn't a leftist. And then when I met a conservative in college, and I thought, no, this guy is wonderful. There's no way he's a conservative. He's just misguided. Then I got to talking to him and, it pretty much opened my mind, and I went to doing my own research and actually educating myself. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, most of the stuff that I was told to think is actually either misleading or downright incorrect. And these people, they are the very people they're telling you to hate, and they are told to hate. And so ultimately the straw that broke the camel's back was when I tried to engage these leftists whom I grew up with. I was pretty much bullied, met with vitriol. And then I realized, there's the Libertarian Party, which pretty much is the party of Ron Paul, I would say, at least when I got exposed to it and did more research. And okay, turns out that I actually am a libertarian more than anything. But ultimately, I am a free thinker. And I like to think that most, if not all, free thinkers are actually libertarians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely the cause from what I've seen.
But yeah.
I mean, most libertarians
but also
are not,
for anarchy.
Oh yeah. Most libertarians that I've actually found that when they're presented with different information, will be willing to change their mind on a subject. While though back whenever I was a part of the whole two-party shit show, not so much. In fact, the exact opposite. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been several libertarians I've met that have had their own this is my purest way that I will not bend the knee on. But I mean, let's say with maybe a policy, or I don't know, I was talking with somebody about nuclear energy the other day, when they presented with a little bit more information, they're kind of willing to open up to it a bit, maybe not so much as terms of ideology wise, but as far as policy is concerned, I've seen libertarians, change their mind willing, after you presented with a little bit more information on it, for sure.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people because I would rather be correct than be consistent.
Yeah. You can be consistently wrong, right? Nobody wants to be consistently wrong.
Yeah, I would rather. I would rather not be consistently wrong.
Yeah, for sure. Well, anyway, today's topic, guys, is bodily autonomy or bodily integrity. So what does it mean as far as this is this is an important subject as far as libertarianism is concerned, and with our philosophy, is that we believe that, in self-ownership, and undoubtedly so, entirely we own our own bodies, right? So this isn't limited to I mean, everyone will say, yeah, we think that you should be able to do what you want with your own body. and then like, you know, you go along in life and you meet people who that's not always the case. They like to say that and think that, but it's not true. Especially like me growing up, I had a really close friend of mine who was you know, he grew up Roman Catholic, right? So
Mhm.
the just the amount of I want to say disgust, I guess, that some of the reactions to some of the Roman Catholics I've come across with just a tattoo, you know, something as simple as like a
Mhm.
tattoo on the body. You know, they say like in terms of faith that like that you shouldn't defile the temple, so to speak. But I mean, from a libertarian's perspective, individually, like that person is their own person, so they're going to do that no matter
Mhm.
what. But they shouldn't face any kind of repercussions just because they want to put something on their body. If I want a tattoo, I shouldn't. I should be able to have one, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
You know, as long as the person who's putting it on there, you know, we consent to doing it, there shouldn't be any issue with that, right?
Mhm.
So as far as religion's concerned, like if your religion doesn't allow you to have a tattoo, then wouldn't it the better argument to be not just so much to say that everybody in general should not be allowed to have a tattoo, but maybe that just because it's the religion that you're practicing, maybe you just prefer not to have the tattoo because it's your religion that's stating that, and not apply that to everybody else? Because I think it's important to realize the correlation between church and state, because years and years ago,
Mhm.
the rule of religion was embedded inside the state. So
Yeah.
when you were breaking the law of a religion, you were also breaking the law of the state.
Mhm.
And so that's why it's important to have separation of the two, I believe, so much. But I mean,
Yeah.
what are some other things that like are really good examples of why it's important for us to have our own actual rule over our body? Like, oh,
I mean, as a general rule, and speaking of religion, God has given us free will,
correct.
and and so if I want to, well, I don't have any tattoos, and I don't like the idea of a tattoo on me. But hypothetically, if I were to get a tattoo, I am exercising my free will to do so, because my decision to get a tattoo is one that I have made with my own right to self ownership of my own body. And I would hardly call a tattoo, and I say this as a Christian, getting a tattoo is not really a defilement of a temple. I consider it more as a representation of a temple. And not only that, but if someone else gets a tattoo, like, why is it any of your business?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And also, getting a tattoo is not an act of aggression. I mean, it's not like that
Yeah.
person is forcing a needle on you for you to get a tattoo. That would not be okay. But another thing that they teach is to hate the sinner, not the sin. And getting a tattoo is not a sin. But if it were, it's not for you to judge, it's for God to judge.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that there are some different
Yeah.
denominations of Christianity that do believe that actual getting a tattoo is a sin. But I mean, I
And
agree with you. I kind of looked at it like I don't know. You decorate your room, right? Like you decorate your house.
Yeah.
Like why not
Why not decorate your body?
your
why not decorate your
body.
body, man? Like it's your body. Like make it yours, you know what I mean? Like
I
Yeah.
think it's fine. Like, if you don't want a tattoo, then don't get it. If you really think that it's a sin, then don't do it. If it's your religion to not get a tattoo or not drink or not do these things, don't do it. But like, you don't force your ways on anybody else. Like, I'm gonna read quote this now that Larry Sharp said. Like, being a libertarian means you can be as liberal or conservative as you want. Don't force anybody else to be like you. So I
mhm.
mean, like, if you don't want to get a tattoo, don't get one. If you don't want to drink, don't do it. Like, live your life the way you want to live it, but as long as you're not hurting anybody. Like, if you like, live your life however you want to live it, as long as you're not hurting anybody. And the second thing is, don't force anybody else to be like you, because force is inherently wrong. Like, as much as it would be wrong to say wrong for somebody to say we're going to put a tattoo on you without your consent. I don't think it's no, it is just as wrong. It's just as wrong to force somebody to say you're not allowed to have tattoos, and if you do, we're going to throw you in jail.
Right? Yeah, it's
Like,
just as wrong. I
don't
agree with you.
force.
To as far as forcing
Yeah.
somebody to get a tattoo or telling them that they are forbidden to do that and that they have to that they are at the
If they do, there's going to be legal repercussions.
yeah, there's legal repercussions, or you'll end up being
Yeah.
thrown in a cage, or we're going to come to your house at gunpoint because you broke the law and didn't pay your fines or whatever, just because you happen to get one. That's just equally as
Exactly.
wrong, because you're still trying to dictate what decision somebody can or cannot make in their life, right? And so
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
it's not just tattoos, like
As long as
libertarians
everyone's like a consenting adult.
yeah, well,
Sorry.
I think the important thing, especially as far as liberty is concerned, is like the freedom to associate with who you do and don't want to, and not being forced to do the opposite. That goes with any
Yeah.
mutual agreement you can have between two individuals, and that is definitely should always be applied to the state when it comes to the state. So making laws that refuse people to get tattoos, and I know that there are not laws right now that don't allow people to get tattoos, right? I mean, I brought up religion, but
There are
before,
in other
once upon a
countries.
time, those things were one and the same. Religion and law were the exact same, as far as like the laws of the religion were concerned, were the laws of the people that were supposedly governed by either monarchies and and but like what it's not just what if you can put something on your body or not. It's also important to realize that it's also what you can and cannot put inside your body. So when it comes to like medication, there's types of medication that are not legal here in the United States that other countries use, right?
Yes.
They may have their own, they may come up with their own reasons behind not allowing said medications. But I think that it should always be up to the individual to decide whether or not they want to try a medication or a type of medication to see if it would work to best benefit them for the condition that they have. And a lot of times, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's called The Dallas Buyers Club.
I haven't seen it.
It's a fantastic movie. But like, so in the movie, like Matthew McConaughey's character, he was diagnosed with AIDS, right? And so at the time he was struggling with getting like proper treatment for the actual virus. And so they had to illegally obtain medication that was actually having some positive results for the virus. And then they had gotten in trouble for it. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, so nobody quote me on this, but I definitely recommend to anybody out there that you should definitely watch the movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's got Jared Leto and Matthew McConaughey in it. But like, it's just an example, a really good example of like the United States government just not allowing, using their brand, like their departments not allowing and restricting people from deciding what kind of medications and what kind of different ways they want to treat the situation, the diseases, or the the diagnosis that they are living with right now. And I honestly think it's a really big problem, because I don't see any reason why we can't use any and every means that we can to try to make wherever we're out and whatever we're doing, our situation even better, especially when it comes to health. I don't think that we should be keeping people or from accessing these types of different like medications or treatments just because some bureaucrat in some office deemed that it wasn't safe enough. And it's like, well, if I'm already diagnosed with especially something that's like life-threatening, I don't give a shit. Like I would like to try anything and everything I can to see if it would work. So the United States government not allowing that to happen, I just think is an absolute atrocity, like an absolute atrocity.
Absolutely.
Because it it makes them more money to not cure the disease but to treat it.
Yes, absolutely. That's,
if that makes sense.
Get that with
and they
cancer
work for
treatment
big pharma
all the time. Yeah, cancer treatment all the time.
They work for big pharma. They do.
Yeah, speaking of big pharma, uh, during my undergrad, my senior year, we actually had to do an ethics exercise, and it was a guy has a wife who is who has some kind of terminal illness, and the only medication that can save her is like $1 million or something like that, and the pharmaceutical guy will not sell it unless he can pay. He cannot afford it. So at night he goes and steals the drug. Was that ethical?
That's interesting. I would say,
Sorry, no.
I think that the theft of the drug. I mean, obviously, we don't believe we believe in property rights.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the theft of
Yeah.
the actual drug is important. But also, I think there's a lot to be said here about like whether or not like specific drugs or even specific resources can be controlled by one single entity. I mean, if an
Yeah, but
entity is literally given the power to hold like all ownership over this specific drug, right? Like, so like this pharmaceutical company has the only means to this medication, right? But they only have it through because of obviously, um regulation and government,
I was gonna say
yeah,
that.
because
Yeah.
of
yeah, that was going to
regulation
be my
and
Hmm.
government giving them that ability to do that. So I mean, the real villain in
Absolutely.
that
yeah.
story would definitely be the state for allowing such a thing to happen. Like, I
Yeah,
Hmm.
mean,
that was actually going to be my follow-up question, because like Esther mentioned big pharma and you mentioned medicines in other countries being illegal here. Once we get rid of the federal regulations, what is the likelihood that there could have been a medicine that could have saved her and such that he didn't have to steal the medicine?
absolutely. And plus it would open up the
The
market way would
market.
be open. So then even like they wouldn't be able to get away with charging the medicine for the cost, right? Because if we can get the same type of drug from a different country for way cheaper, I mean, nobody's gonna buy this person's crap. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I mean, like, okay,
Exactly.
Yeah.
big
Free the
whoop.
market
But like
competition.
if I can just have it like, if I could just have it imported from Canada for cheaper, I'm just going to do that, right? I'm not going to
Hmm.
pay
Yeah.
this pharmaceutical company a ridiculous amount of money for a drug that I can get cheaper elsewhere, right? So they would be, but not
Yeah.
only that, they would be forced to have to lower the cost of the product because they wouldn't be able to sell it. I mean, you're going to sit on that and not be able to sell it, then
Yeah.
you're not making any money and you have all this for no reason, right? So in order for them to be able to
The
sell it,
market
they would
provides.
have to find some kind of competitive price to either make it maybe a little bit more because it's closer or convenient, not having to like order it from Canada, or make it cheaper so that way people will always buy your stuff and not import it from some other country.
If they don't have the what is it? Bureaucrats, and they don't have the government, like, bailing them out, like government bailouts, it wouldn't be so expensive.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they get to name their price. I mean, if the government gives them the ability to basically have full like dictation of the market, like, okay, so they're literally the market. We can't choose other people in the United States because they're not going to be able to either afford the
That's
licensing
socialism.
and the ability to do that, and it's strictly just one company that's providing this drug, and the whole reason is because the
Socialism.
government won't allow any other person to join the market. That's direct market manipulation. I mean, yeah, like absolutely, like it's
Socialism.
I mean,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. I don't want any one entity, whether or not it's an individual person or whether or not it's just one government, dictating any aspect of my life whatsoever, whether or not it's healthcare or not.
Absolutely.
There's no
Yeah.
way, and it never turns
Same.
out
Yeah.
well. You may have the best
Yeah.
intentions, but like the more and more you end up trying to control people, the worse it gets, always, and we have historical
Oh,
evidence of that.
I made a
Yep.
status the other day. Can I share it?
Sure, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my status said, if I didn't want to be controlled by, like, as a child, if I didn't want to be controlled by a Korean authoritarian household, what makes you think I want to be controlled by the government? And
There you
that was
go.
my status.
Bingo.
Yeah, although you're definitely correct. A small difference that's actually helping your case being that your Korean or authoritarian parents are legally responsible for you, but the government should not be legally responsible for us. Like we should hold the government responsible
But like
because we elect these people.
if I didn't want to be like, controlled as a child, like not controlled like be good, behave, but like my life like literally controlled, and I was just like, as a child, like even like from birth, I was like freedom.
Right.
Like
Well, I mean,
I was all about like wanting freedom and craving freedom.
you
So
remember
like
you remember
if
what I
I
said
wanted
about
that,
you remember what I said about my son the last time we talked? The last episode we did? Remember my son was like
yeah.
What did you
screaming
say
at me.
about your son?
Okay, so my son was I was in my living room, right? And I have like this, this gate off to keep him in there, right? And he just had enough, so he was screaming and like throwing a fit and like just yelling at me all the time, no matter what I did. I brought him toys, I brought him snacks, I brought him whatnot. He just was screaming. And then finally I was like, all right, fine, screw it. And I just opened up the gate and he just instantly stopped crying, walked outside of the gate and like behaved, and it was just like just totally fine. I was just like, man, like that I was like, that kid just needs his freedom. Like that's all he wanted was to
Yeah,
be
no,
free.
that's a libertarian kid right there. That's a libertarian kid.
Yeah. And my views when it comes to parenting is very libertarian, although granted, I don't have kids, so it's much easier said than done. But as a general rule, like if you have
Raise
to,
them not to be serial killers. That's it.
well, I mean, yeah, but also,
It's a pretty easy rule
but also
to
if your child, yeah, but in terms of disciplining your child, like I don't believe in spanking kids. Like I think that's a violation of the non-aggression principle, and that should be outlawed. But as a general rule, if you can't deal with your child in a manner that doesn't involve aggression, you should not be having kids. And also, if your child is old enough to be reasoned with, then reason with them. If not, then what's the point?
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I mean, my
Like,
son's
how
not
is
my son's
spanking your
not
kid?
2 years yet, but of course he's in that toddler stage where he likes to like hit the dogs. You know what I mean? I'm just like, what the hell, dude? Why are you smacking the dog?
Mean.
Well, he'll go back
Yeah,
around.
teach him to not hit the dog.
He'll go
You should
back
tell
around.
him,
No,
like,
he'll one
if
time
you
he'll
don't-
like a couple times he'll be like he'll petting him, and then randomly he's just like, I'm gonna throw my toy car at you, and I'm just like, what the hell, dude? Like the dog's just
So
sitting there, man. Like, don't do that, right?
Just take the toy cars away from him until he learns not to.
Pretty much, man. I've
Tell
had
him if
to
he doesn't want to be hit.
I've had to just try to keep separating that, but like I mean he's too young to understand. Like I mean me, even if I was for spanking, like, and I spanked him, it wouldn't do any good. He's just a little kid. Like he
Exactly.
doesn't even understand the
Especially-
word car 100%, like let alone whether or not I was to swat him on the butt. Like that doesn't do any good. And it's like I don't believe that he really means any malice to the dogs. He's just, it's all new to him. It's his new body, his new life. He doesn't quite understand everything yet, So I just try to take it.
Yeah, he doesn't know any better.
Every moment that I can get, a little bit of influence in, I just try to be like, no, pet, don't smack, and he comes around on it. But yeah, I just, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean,
But also given that,
yeah, I mean, at what point that you're gonna spank a kid and then like it's basically beating him into submission? That's more or less,
Yeah.
I mean, I was spanked whenever I grew up. I mean, a lot.
Same.
I was not really a great kid.
Yeah.
As far as like obedience is concerned, but
Yeah.
I like to be that, like one of those people that always says, well, I got spanked and I turned out fine, but I also don't really condone necessarily you spanking your children. Like, I mean, I think you can find a better way to raise them. I think you can.
Absolutely.
I think there's another form of punishment, or other better forms of punishment. And like, I swore as a child that I would never spank my kids in the future. Like I swore that, and I will never like lay a hand on my kid.
Mm-hmm.
There's grounding, there's timeouts, there's taking away toys, taking away like
I mean,
like,
you don't want to not show them that there
sad,
isn't repercussions
works.
for their actions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to show them that there's repercussions for their actions, because in the real world, whenever you act wrong, there's going to be repercussions from it.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, absolutely.
I think that parenting, every parent is different and everyone has different forms of parenting, and it's not my business if somebody else decides to, hear me out, spank their kid, but like in a non-abusive way. Like there's a difference between like
Okay.
spanking to punish
Yes,
and like
absolutely.
abusing, like straight up like taking your anger
There's
out on this
yeah,
kid.
there's like a literal difference
There's
between a
there's a
swat,
huge
or like
difference.
say a swat on the butt or something like that,
Yeah.
and beating your child.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean,
Yeah, and
we're
like
not
my
going to
dad, I
pretend here
remember
like there's a vastly difference between the two.
there's a
Like,
huge difference. Okay, so I remember when my dad came back, or when we came back from Vegas one time, and I don't know what I did. I was tired. I was a 7-year-old kid. My dad just started beating me up, and I was like, wait, what did I do?
good
Like
God,
normally I do
I'm
bad things,
sorry.
but
that's
and it's
terrible.
but this is why I don't believe in child abuse, or I hate child abuse with a passion. Like, but anyway,
Yeah, no, that's just absolutely
and he just
awful.
started like beating me, and I was just like, wait, what did I do? Like, I literally, I literally thought of everything that happened, and I was like, I didn't actually do anything this time. Like, why am I being beaten up? Like, so like, don't take your anger out on your kids. If it's like a you problem, it's a you problem, not your kid's problem.
Hmm.
And like, if your kid did something bad and you just like, want to spank them on their butts, or like spank them to show them like, hey, that's bad, don't do that. Like, fine, I'm not going to do that as a parent, but like if you're going to do that, if that's like your way of parenting, fine. But like there's literally a difference between like abusing your, like, spanking as a form of punishment because your kid did something bad, and abusing them and taking your anger, especially like when like parents like drink and then like abuse their kids. Or
Oh,
I
absolutely.
just
Yeah. Well, I mean,
don't take your problems out on your kid.
goes a lot
So
to say for like what we're really talking about here. Is just like, I mean, somebody coming up and hitting you for no random reason, like that's a violation of your body rights. Your body rights is to be
Yeah.
and do with your body what you want to do. And if somebody comes and forces you to do something, either forces you into a car, or like holds you down, or hits you,
Yeah.
or rapes you, that's a complete violation of your own bodily integrity, because it's your
Yes.
body
yeah,
to do with
and
as you'd like. And somebody else coming in and forcing their way to do whatever it may be is a complete violation of that. Now, we do talk about like we
Mm-hmm.
talked about before, you'd said, Christiana, that yeah, I mean, when you're a parent, your responsibility is to make sure you take care of your kids, and you're supposed to raise them so that they can grow up and function in the real world. And while we do agree that it's important for them to understand causation, right? So if they do something that they shouldn't be doing, or that they may not know is bad, that they should know that there's repercussions for that, and that causation will happen. But it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily
yeah,
mean that beating them into submission is a way to go. Is not the way to go about it.
obviously it isn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
So
it
far, I
isn't. I
haven't
mean, you're.
statistically seen any signs that just beating a kid into submission has been successful at all
I
with
mean, you
their
haven't
with
seen
their
it because they're not
development.
there.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, with their development, nothing. I
You,
haven't seen a case that like just beating the crap out of your
Well,
child in order to get them to
it's
just do as you say,
po-
or what you want to do is successful at all. The
it's
opposite, in fact.
possible,
That's how
but
you make
it's
serial
not going to
killers, Esther,
be
right? That's what you said. Don't make serial killers. That's like our one
yeah,
rule. Our one rule is don't make serial
exactly.
killers. And then people are beating these kids, and then they're making serial killers. Like, no, we don't want
every
serial killers
every
in our
show
society.
every show that you watch where like it's like about serial killers, and then like you go into their childhood, and then like like they investigate into this kid's, or this person's, this bad person's childhood to see why they turned out this way. Most of the time, so I mean, sometimes it's just because like they're sociopaths or psychopaths, and there's just something wrong with their like mind, and it's like nothing that their parents could have done or anything. Sometimes it is that, but most of the time it's because they were abused as a kid, and that's how they ended up retaliating, because they were angry with the world and they wanted revenge.
Mhm.
yeah. Actually, I was watching not a documentary, but a video made of this one serial killer's kind of what do you call it? The serial killings, like pretty much highlighting those and also interviewing them. Like that particular serial killer, his name was the Iceman, I believe. But he was abused as a kid, and his dad was also very, very violent and a serial killer. So you see that these people have a troubled family history of abuse. So at the end of the day, like they are raised in that environment. So obviously they don't know any better. So they're going to end up like their parents or their abusive serial killing parents.
Yeah, I mean, break the cycle, hopefully. I hope for everyone to, like, you know, break that cycle if they had that childhood. But at the same time, like, that's what happens, not all of the time, but that's what happens because, like, my dad was abused and then he abused me. And, you know, like, you get therapy and you decide that you don't want to be like that as a parent. So you break the cycle. But like he was abused and then he decided to abuse me. So I mean, you know, it's a cycle and you have to break it.
Yeah, I think ultimately ultimately though, I believe in, like, it's another reason why even swatting your kid, I agree with you that there's a difference between abuse and swatting. But I don't believe in swatting kids in the butt, also because I'm a bigger believer in letting them have natural consequences versus creating artificial ones that'll create a stronger rebellious nature in them.
Also, like, when you hit your kids, like, it instills, I mean, like Sean was saying how it doesn't work. But the thing is, if it does work, and it can, but it's not like a good, like, you know, good outcome. It's you instill fear in this kid, they're gonna be scared of you. Like, so say you like beat up your kid because you're a terrible parent, and then because you're a manipulative asshole, you decide, oh hey, I'm gonna love my kid today and not beat him up. And then so like you outstretch your arms and you're like, hey, give me a hug. They're gonna be like this because your arm moved and they think you're gonna hit them again. Like, it's fear and force, not
but
and
also
I don't think that's like a good parenting.
Yeah, I mean, of course, don't let your kid wander off into traffic to get ran over or anything like that. But
like, you don't want
but
that
let them experience
that kind
the
of natural consequence. We don't condone natural consequences. Being like, here, put a penny in the socket and like hope to God you're not gonna die from that. Like, good God.
Yeah, not that kind of natural consequence. But like if the kid does something that has like minimal effect on them, like, you know, something that doesn't result in death or serious injury, like let them experience the consequence so they know to not do it again.
Definitely enough. I mean, they need to know not to do those types of things. I mean, we're supposed to be creating people who are going to live in the same society that we are, right? So I mean, you could be that angry parent who's just like, screw the society after me. Like,
also, while we're talking about parenting and bodily autonomy, I think it's important to teach our kids about, like, you know, the importance of consent. And actually, like parents should like listen to their kids more. Like, if somebody says, or like, you know, a stranger, or you like meet your parents' friends, and you know, they're like, oh, give this person a hug or shake this person's hand or whatever, and like the kid doesn't want to, like, that should be okay. You know, like some kids are super shy or introverted. Like, I'm an extrovert, but you know, different kids, like different, and like that should be embraced. But not just that, but like the whole like idea of consent. Like, if a kid doesn't want to give a stranger or their aunt or their uncle or their grandpa or their grandparents a hug, they shouldn't have to. Like, bodily autonomy. Like, don't force your kid to touch someone if they don't want to.
I
don't know.
Yeah, especially, I mean, that's also like a thing with like family gatherings, right? You got the person who comes up and just wants to like grab your cheeks and like, you know, bombard you with
Oh my God,
kisses
can't
because
say
like,
that.
oh, it's, it's me.
Dude, people pinch cheeks so hard. Like, I still remember it. Like, like, even at 27 right now, it just like takes me back to like being a kid, like at 5
I
years old,
remember
and
how
like
much that shit
hating,
hurt.
like,
I remember how much that shit hurt.
it hurts so much.
And I was like, well, if your
I
goal
love
was
like
for me
when
to remember you, you've succeeded because I will fucking remember that.
oh yeah. I remember it and I don't like it, but I
Right.
remember like how I like got older and like I guess I stopped being as cute and there were like other cuter little kids and then they started pinching their cheeks instead. I was like, yes, because they didn't
Is it
pinch
that
me
weird?
anymore.
But don't you think that that's kind of like a little weird? I don't know. I guess it's a weird kind of common thing you see amongst people is like, well, I had to go through it, right? So you should too, or like,
I don't
it's.
think you should have to, but
But you're
I
like,
think I was
yeah,
just like
you
happy
know what it's
because
like now, right? Like you kind of want to.
it wasn't that. It was that wasn't my mindset. My mindset was, yes, they're not like pinching my cheeks anymore.
Right? You're like, at least they're not bothering with me at the
They're
moment.
like, at least they're not bothering me. Like that's their distraction now. There's a distraction. But it hurts so bad. So I don't know. I think like the whole, teaching your kids about bodily autonomy is just as important. And like teaching your kids like, hey, if you don't want to give like, grandpa a hug,
Mhm.
you don't have to. That's okay. Like personal space.
You should be forced to go and visit your cousins that you don't want to visit, or they make you go
Yeah.
anyway, though, right?
Esther, your sound cut off.
Yeah, I think
Wait, can
that
you hear
was
me?
Yes.
Oh, my bad. There's 2 minutes remaining.
I know. I'm trying
I think
so
Sean's
hard
aware.
right now. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I've been completely detached, but I'm trying so hard to save this.
Okay, I'll keep talking. But yeah, no, I mean, but what are your parents supposed to do? Like leave you there at home alone while they go visit your cousins without you?
Well, I mean, if you want that, why not?
I don't know. Like I used to, if I was forced to go somewhere I didn't want to. I mean, obviously, once you hit like a certain age, you shouldn't have to because you can like look out for yourself or like stay at home. But what is it called? If I was forced to go somewhere I didn't want to go, like I just like be on I don't know. I just kept to myself. Like
Yeah,
read
I
a
mean,
I'm gonna
book
admit
or
here with this this whole Zoom predicament that I'm coming in contact with here. I'm unable to get my account to cooperate with me because I just tried to upgrade to the pro like it's asking so that it could keep our session going. But it won't let me right now. So I'm gonna actually need a little bit more time than I'm allotted because I got what, 1:09 now? Yep, 1:09.
about a minute.
Wonderful. So I mean, we can.
Shortest podcast ever.
You're right. We can talk for a minute or so afterwards, and I don't know. Maybe I can give it a 2 mini video session for this episode. So don't worry. You can go ahead and keep talking.
Oh.
Once it ends, and then we'll go back to it. But I just don't understand why it won't take my password reset. I can never remember
you could probably
any of my passwords ever. I try to keep them more or less like the same for like 12 or 13 different types that I'm going with, right? But for some reason I can't remember this one. Yeah, but so unsuccessful as far as keeping the podcast going for a proper hour, right, guys?
I mean, you could probably use a video editing software and combine the videos and like cut parts out.
I actually do have a video editor